When an empath stops pleasing everyone and starts seeing the truth, Carl Jung discovered something remarkable happens. They don't become selfish, they become dangerous. Not to others, but to every system that profits from their endless giving. Jung called this transformation, individuation, and it's the most threatening thing an empath can achieve in a world built on their self-sacrifice. Picture the moment everything changes. You're sitting alone, maybe after another exhausting day of managing everyone else's emotions. You've said yes when you meant no. You've smiled through your pain to keep others comfortable. You've absorbed their stress until your nervous system feels like it's on fire. But this time, something different happens. Instead of pushing through, you pause. You ask a question that changes everything. What if I stopped? Jung called this the beginning of consciousness. For the empath who dares to answer honestly, there's no going back to ignorance. Here's what Jung discovered that few talk about. The empath's gift of feeling everything isn't really a gift at all. It's what I call survival sensitivity, a trauma response disguised as compassion. Jung observed this pattern repeatedly. He wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But empaths can't become who they truly are because they've never learned who they are without other people's emotions." The first moment of awakening isn't gradual. The empath doesn't slowly become self-aware. They experience what Jung called a collision with the unconscious, a sudden, shocking recognition that their entire identity has been built on a lie, the lie that they are responsible for everyone else's feelings. Jung documented this exact pattern in his work on individuation. Highly sensitive people often develop what he called inflated compassion, an addiction to being needed because it's the only way they feel valuable. But when this bubble bursts, something extraordinary happens. The real self begins to emerge. This is where Jung's work becomes revolutionary for empaths. He discovered that every person carries a shadow, the parts of ourselves we've rejected or hidden. For empaths, the shadow contains something others don't expect. Rage, pure, undiluted rage at being used, manipulated, and taken for granted. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." For empaths, this darkness isn't evil, it's suppressed anger, denied needs, and a silenced voice. When they finally confront this shadow, everything shifts. The empath doesn't become cruel, they become consciously selective. They start seeing manipulation tactics that were invisible before. They recognize emotional vampires. They spot the difference between genuine need and manufactured crisis. This isn't cynicism, it's clarity. Jung identified specific patterns when highly sensitive people begin individuation. I call them the 8 signs of conscious awakening, the markers of what Jung called the birth of psychological sovereignty. Sign 1, energy shift. The first sign is an energy reversal. Instead of your energy flowing outward to everyone else, it begins to pull back toward you. Jung observed this in his patients. When empaths stop unconsciously giving away their life force, they suddenly have energy for themselves. You stop feeling drained after social interactions. You stop absorbing everyone else's bad moods. Most importantly, you stop feeling guilty for having boundaries. Jung wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." Others notice this shift before you do. They sense that you're no longer available as an emotional dumping ground. Some will try to guilt you back into your old role. Sign 2, the mask falls away. Jung called this the death of the persona, the social mask we wear to fit in. For empaths, this is usually the nice one, the helpful one, the one who never says no. When individuation begins, this mask becomes impossible to maintain. You start saying what you actually think, expressing preferences, and admitting fatigue instead of pretending endless energy. This terrifies those who benefited from your self-erasure. Jung warned, "The most terrifying thing is to fully accept yourself, but for the awakening empath, self-acceptance outweighs social acceptance." Sign 3, projection returns. Jung discovered that we often project our own qualities onto others. Empaths project their sensitivity, depth, and care onto people who don't actually possess these traits. During individuation, projection recall occurs. You stop seeing potential in people and start seeing reality. You stop making excuses for bad behavior. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The awakening empath sees selfishness in others because they had suppressed their own healthy selfishness for so long. Sign 4. Boundaries become sacred. Jung observed that individuals who achieve psychological maturity develop a personal relationship with their unconscious. For empaths, this means listening to internal signals instead of external demands. You say no without elaborate explanations, stop feeling guilty for having needs, and recognize that anger at your boundaries comes from those who benefited from your lack of them. Jung called this individual integrity. Awakening empaths understand sacred selfishness. Taking care of yourself is not only acceptable, it's essential for authentic relationships. Sign 5. The guilt disappears. This might be the most shocking sign. The crushing guilt for having needs, taking space, or disappointing others begins to evaporate. Jung called this shadow integration. When you stop rejecting parts of yourself, you stop feeling guilty for being human. You realize guilt was often a response to manipulation. When someone remarks, "You've changed," instead of rushing to reassure them, you think, "Yes, I have," and that's the point. Awakening empaths become conscious of their worth, independent of others' opinions. Sign 6. Authenticity over approval. Individuation leads to self-actualization, living from your authentic core rather than external expectations. For empaths, this means choosing authenticity over approval, even when it costs relationships. You stop performing emotions you don't feel, stop trying to please everyone, and embrace your true self, pretending to agree when you don't, laughing at jokes that aren't funny just to make others feel comfortable. This kind of authenticity draws certain people in and can feel threatening to others. Notice if people started treating you differently when you stood up for yourself. They sense the shift even before you speak. The awakened empath develops what can be called authentic magnetism. When you stop trying to be liked by everyone, you naturally attract the right people instead. Another sign is the healer begins to heal themselves. Jung noticed that many healers were what he called wounded healers, people who helped others to avoid facing their own pain. During the process of individuation, empaths finally turn that healing inward. You start asking, "What do I need?" instead of always wondering what others need. You nurture your own inner child rather than parenting every adult around you. You recognize that you cannot pour from an empty cup, and that cup has been empty for years. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." The awakening empath gives themselves permission to discover that self, apart from being everyone's emotional caretaker. Another sign is conscious connection. Jung called this conscious relationship, the ability to connect with others without losing your own sense of self. The awakened empath develops what can be called bounded compassion. They feel for others without taking on their burdens. You begin attracting people who respect your limits rather than those who exploit your kindness. Relationships become based on mutual respect instead of one-sided giving. You can love others without needing to rescue them. If you've reached the point where you can understand people deeply but no longer need their approval, remind yourself, "I see you, but I don't need you." Jung observed that this stage allows for deeper, more genuine connections because you are finally relating as your true self, not as a performance of what others want you to be. Jung did not romanticize this process. He called it the night sea journey, a period of disorientation and loss necessary for personal rebirth. For empaths, it often feels like a kind of death, the death of the false self built around pleasing others. You may lose friends who only liked the version of you that served them. You may feel lonely as you learn to be comfortable alone for the first time. You may grieve relationships that were never built on love, but on your usefulness. Jung wrote, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." The awakening empath must descend into their inner underworld before they can rise into their authentic self. Jung was among the first psychologists to link mind and body. For empaths, years of absorbing others' emotions can create what might be called energetic toxicity, chronic fatigue, anxiety, digestive problems, and autoimmune issues. But when empaths stop people-pleasing, the body begins to heal. The nervous system relaxes, sleep improves, chronic pain often diminishes. Psychological healing and physical healing go hand in hand. Your body was never meant to process everyone else's emotional load. When you stop being the world's emotional dumping ground, your health naturally begins to restore itself. Jung observed that individuation always reshapes relationships. Some relationships deepen, others fall away. For empaths, this is a necessary but sometimes painful sorting process. What can be called the Great Relationship Purge separates genuine connections from exploitative ones. People who truly love you adapt to your boundaries and celebrate your growth. Those who resist change often benefited from your self-neglect. Jung described this as distinguishing genuine love from neurotic attachment. Many relationships are built on hidden agreements. You give endless emotional support and they give conditional acceptance. When you reclaim your life, some people will leave. Let them. Jung discovered something that changes everything. When empaths stop being everyone's emotional sponge, they do not lose sensitivity. They gain what can be called conscious sensitivity. They still feel deeply, but choose what to absorb and what to release. This conscious sensitivity becomes a superpower. You can read situations accurately without being overwhelmed. You can support others without depleting yourself. You can love deeply without losing yourself. Jung called this differentiated consciousness, maintaining your center while connecting with others. The awakening empath becomes what he called a conscious individual, navigating the world with intact sensitivity and strong boundaries. Jung believed that personal transformation creates collective change. When one person becomes conscious, it gives others permission to do the same. The empath who stops overgiving does not only transform their own life, they model a new way of being for everyone around them. Your courage to set limits gives others courage. Your refusal to absorb everyone's emotions shows them they can handle their own feelings. Your authentic self-expression reminds them they don't need to perform to be loved. Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But this only happens when at least one person shows up authentically." He outlined principles that guide individuated people. What can be called the conscious empath's code. 5 principles maintain psychological sovereignty while staying connected. First, feel everything but absorb nothing. Your emotions are yours, theirs are theirs. Second, give from abundance, never depletion. Third, love without losing yourself. Fourth, help when inspired, not out of guilt. Fifth, trust your inner knowing over outside pressure. These are not rules, but guides to remain authentic in a world that profits from unconscious giving. Jung understood society often labels conscious individuals as selfish because unconscious people benefit from others' self-neglect. When empaths start prioritizing their own needs, they are reclaiming their life and health, setting an example for others, and creating a ripple effect of consciousness in the world. Empaths are often accused of being cold or uncaring, but Jung made an important distinction. There is healthy selfishness and unhealthy selfishness. Healthy selfishness is taking responsibility for your own happiness rather than relying on others to provide it. It's setting boundaries instead of walls. It's practicing self-care instead of self-abandonment. The awakening empath learns that taking care of themselves isn't selfish, it's essential. You can't pour from an empty cup, and many empaths have been running on empty for years. Jung's concept of individuation includes what he called the inner marriage, the integration of masculine and feminine psychological principles within one person. For empaths, this means balancing natural receptivity with healthy assertiveness. You learn to give and receive energy. You develop the ability to say no as well as yes. You integrate your nurturing nature with your need for independence. Jung called this psychological wholeness, no longer needing someone else to complete you because you've learned to complete yourself. The awakening empath discovers they can be both soft and strong, caring yet boundaried, sensitive yet sovereign. Highly sensitive individuals, Jung noted, have unique gifts when they manage their sensitivity consciously, what I call the empath's arsenal. These abilities emerge when sensitivity is channeled, not suppressed. Intuition becomes razor sharp when your perceptions aren't clouded by others' emotions. Creativity flows when you aren't drained by emotional vampires. Deep, meaningful relationships form when you attract people who match your authenticity instead of exploiting your kindness. Jung wrote, "Your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart." The conscious empath sees truth beyond pretense. Individuation often involves periods of loneliness as you separate from unconscious group dynamics. For empaths, this loneliness can feel intense. You've spent your life surrounded by people who needed you, and now you're learning to be alone. Jung distinguished loneliness from solitude. Loneliness is the pain of disconnection. Solitude is the joy of connection with yourself. The awakening empath learns to enjoy their own company. In solitude, you hear your thoughts without the noise of others' emotions. You discover your preferences without external pressures. You meet yourself, perhaps for the first time. Jung emphasized that individuation doesn't end with withdrawal from the world. It leads to conscious re-engagement. The awakening empath returns to relationships and community from choice, not compulsion. You help others because it feels authentic, not out of guilt. You participate in social settings because you want connection, not out of fear of rejection. You give your gifts from abundance, not from a desperate need to be needed. Jung called this conscious participation, engaging with life as your true self, not your performing self. Psychological development isn't linear, it happens in cycles. The awakening empath will face ongoing challenges in maintaining boundaries and authentic self-expression. Doubt will arise. Old patterns may call you back, but each cycle deepens understanding, strengthens resolve, and makes the next boundary easier. Jung called this spiral development, revisiting similar themes at deeper levels of consciousness. Recognize these cycles as growth, not failure. Individuation creates responsibility. When you heal yourself, you naturally want to help others, but the conscious empath's approach differs from old people-pleasing patterns. Instead of rescuing, you model healthy boundaries. Instead of absorbing pain, you hold space for growth. Instead of fixing problems, you trust others to find solutions. Jung called this authentic service, helping from wholeness rather than woundedness. You become a lighthouse, illuminating for those ready to see, without chasing ships in the dark. Jung's ultimate goal was the self, not the ego, not the persona, but the integrated totality of who you are. For empaths, integration means embracing all aspects of themselves, sensitive and strong, caring and fierce, giver and receiver. You no longer apologize for feeling deeply. You don't suppress intuition. You embrace complexity rather than fitting into simple categories. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." The integrated empath is both powerful and gentle, open yet boundaried, connected yet sovereign. Your sensitivity is not weakness, it is strength. Your boundaries are not selfish, they are self-respect. Your authenticity is not too much, it is exactly right. Jung studied this process for a lifetime and found it always requires courage. The courage to disappoint others to stay true. The courage to be alone rather than betray values. The courage to choose growth over comfort. If you recognize yourself in these patterns, trust the process, trust your instincts. Becoming who you truly are is not only your right, it's your responsibility. If you see yourself in these transformation patterns, write this: my breaking point became my breakthrough. When an empath stops pleasing everyone and starts seeing the truth, they don't become selfish, they become sovereign. They don't lose compassion, they include themselves in it. They don't stop caring, they start caring for themselves too. This is Jung's gift to every empath exhausted from being the world's emotional caretaker. You don't need to carry the world's pain to prove your goodness. You don't need to sacrifice yourself to deserve love. You can be sensitive and strong, caring and boundaried, empathic and authentic. The world doesn't need depleted empaths. It needs conscious empaths, those who give from choice, help from abundance, and love without abandoning themselves. To understand more about Jung's psychology of the sovereign individual, watch my video on why the man who needs nothing is society's greatest threat, exploring how psychological independence disrupts systems built on dependency. Your journey from people pleaser to conscious empath isn't just personal, it's revolutionary. Jung would be proud. Thanks for watching. See you in the next dimension.